My name is Adrian Nantchev, and this channel is all about helping you become a remarkable entrepreneur. So that's why I started this entire podcast, and we're on episode 83, to talk about and to bring people from all over the world to talk about what they're doing and why and what makes them remarkable. So this is an interesting episode today because I got one character here from more or less, well, off the coast of Venezuela in a little island not heard of until recently, Curacao. Did I say it right? Giovani, Curacao?
Curacao.
Curacao.
That's near. That's pretty good.
That's cool. But this guy was recommended to me as well, so that's pretty cool. So networking, pretty cool. So please, Giovani, tell the world, who are you? What's important to you? And what makes you remarkable? Please.
Well, very first, thanks for having me, Adrian. I'm really happy to have an invitation. It's really a great opportunity. We can talk, and I get to know you. I know Surf Yogi, who I have a great bond with. He's a great fan. So I'm happy to be here with you, and we'll get to know each other. What makes me a little different, I guess, is I was born into a bit of a crazy situation of a family. As a dad artist. My dad was actually a doctor, studied, but he became an artist. And my mom was a lawyer who had 3 previous marriages and 5 kids. And she was his lawyer when he got arrested in prison in St. Martin. And she actually got, there's that type of story. They broke up after another marriage, another kid. And it's a beautiful story of a way to grow and look for answers. And since small, I remember some of my first memories are actually just laying and looking up at the sky and thinking, who am I? What am I doing here? Why am I here? Why do I have to do these things? Did you have this conversation almost with yourself, the higher, just yourself? Knowing there's a higher purpose, but knowing you have to do all these things, you have to walk this entire path that you're walking, which is troubled sometimes, and which is emotional, which is whatever it is, but going to school for all those years, learning these things. But always I knew that if you keep doing those things, it comes together. If you just keep working hard and keep dedicating yourself to it, somehow you don't know why, you might be really interested in this for years and really interested in that for years and just dedicate yourself to it. At some point it comes together, and that's where, to me, that's art, that's alchemy, and that doesn't have to be with paint or with music or with anything. It's just a way of bringing certain elements in your life together to make them add value to you, add value to your community. And I guess I live that in a way, so I kind of say, take your own path. It might be hard. It might be looked down on. People might advise you to do 100 different things, but if you keep at it and you really love what you do and you start to really have the confidence, hey, I believe in what I'm doing, sky's the limit in whatever domain you decide to apply yourself to. That's kind of, I guess, the message behind it. And that's just not specifically for me. It doesn't make me remarkable. It means that we can all be remarkable. And we should all be remarkable and break with this system that makes us kind of do mediocre things and believe that it's right to do it. Keep doing that. Attaboy. Here's your salary.
Yeah. Well, we can do a lot more things than just be mediocre. Than just be mediocre. There's so much opportunity in life. You go through it on a daily basis. You can just find loads of things online or technologies and industries. Just before this podcast, I was actually Googling, which is the highest growing sectors, industries, and there's a bit outdated chart and all the rest, but wind power and VoIP, I forgot what it's called, but some interesting stuff happening out there. And just watching odd enough, I was watching an interview with Jeff Bezos just now, and he was talking about how internet back in the early 90s was growing really fast and cutting edge. I'm thinking, what's the equivalent today is cutting edge? Because that's where the opportunities are going to be, that are going to be for the long term, for the future, for the short term, or near obsolescence, but for the future. That's what I'm always thinking and looking. And dedication, I find that when you focus on something, you dedicate yourself towards it, you'll eventually achieve it.
I think you said something beautiful. What exactly Jeff Bezos said at the cutting edge of development?
Yeah, cutting edge is the trend.
That's like the frontier of what we know and what we're able to do if you want to really be part of the identity that's happening, that we're creating. And they said this way back when the American dream was important and they were going west and they're going to California, or they made it all the way. They said the true American identity was created at the frontier, and the true human identity is created at the frontiers today. So in everything, if you're into finance, you should be pushing the edge of the crypto and the blockchain. The artist should be pushing the edge of which technologies we have be available to us, not be scared to be traditional, because some people still think it's only traditional materials that make fine art. But we have all these new technologies in which you can apply the same fundamental elements, contrast, brightnesses, I mean, shapes, spaces,
tonal value,
everything that's always been there as important is still important, but it gets a new package and we keep on upgrading. So still, we should not, we're doing what all the generations always have done. We're a little bit scared of change, so a lot of people are holding on. But I say to the new generation, man, be ready, man. Get on this train. Because I think we're creating a free society little by little, and they're gonna fight it at some point. And you have to be willing to fight if you want change. If you want to be part of the change, at least. Otherwise, you'll be forced into change at some point. But
yeah, a quick comment about the rules. I think the first step is to learn the rules in terms of art or literature or music and beyond. And then when you know the ins and outs, then you break them. And that's how you create the magnus opus, the original artwork, the masterpiece.
Look, I agree. And also, for a long time, I was holding on to this very utopic value of how I would present myself. So I knew that in saying certain things, presenting myself a certain way, that I felt like I was manipulating people to, hey, look at what I do. Oh, I won that prize and this and that and that. But it felt like manipulation. But then one day I started realizing, look, man, you're playing, sorry to use the Monopoly analogy, but you're playing Monopoly with the rules to Scrabble. And that don't work. If I want to change the system, or if I want to be victorious, let's say we already won just being victorious in the game, I have to play according to certain rules to win from within. And then the change comes from within, because sometimes you get so utopic, like, I'm not going to participate in that, I'm not going to be on any other social media or whatever, I'm not going to ever promote myself or make a post like that, or, you know. But now that I have been presenting myself in a certain way, I'm creating a lot more engagement, which is so much more satisfying to me, because I'm connecting with the people I've been making this art for. So even more than votes or likes and other, or, you know, sales, it's doing what it was set out to do, which is communicate or in some way have its effect on the viewer. You know, the art it's like happiness. It ain't real until it's shared. And that goal is being achieved within this blockchain. So it's like so much more successful than just the money aspect, which is also financial freedom, actually going outside of the banking system, outside of all the systems. But it's so much more than that. So much more than that. And if we decentralize information and that they don't feed us what they've been feeding us, where we can decide what we eat, and we become conscious about picking the right things to eat, you know, because we're informed like, oh, that might be tasty and it might be temporarily satisfying, but it ain't good for me in the long run. So on a spiritual level and on a physical level and a human level, we should start not discriminating on color, but discriminating on what's right and wrong for us again. I mean,
yeah, some really interesting things there. I was taking some notes down. Yeah, when you mentioned the intelligence, decentralized intelligence, yeah, it's all BS out there, and it's not good for you. It's all BS out there, not good for you at all. It's all mainstream for a reason. Anything that's in the headlines is there for a reason. You got to dig deep, and the deeper you dig, the more valuable, and the fewer people that know about it, and the more applicable it is to you. And it's like most of the stuff out there. Not only is it, you know, sad and all the rest, but, you know, that's psychology. That's the way the mind works from millennia ago, where the bad news is more contagious. But also in terms of it's not applicable to you. So when you find stuff that's more applicable to you, you can profit from it, you can benefit from it, most of the things out there, it doesn't matter at all. And when you cut it out from your life, you can leverage a lot and have a lot more free time. I'm curious though. You mentioned eat. I was looking into a character recently called Dr. Sebai from Honduras.
Okay.
He died a few years ago though. He was this African living in Honduras. This guy was born there and died there. He talked about very much like a whole food plant-based diet, but don't have things like broccoli and cauliflower and carrots and walnuts are awesome, but have things that are pure natural and alkaline. Does this sound anything familiar at all to you? Because you mentioned eat earlier and be conscious. Can you elaborate on those things, please?
Yeah. Of course, on a natural level, we've been being fed like a lot of mess by Monsanto and GMOs and all these things. And so we have to be conscious about what we're putting in our body, because that's super important to, what you're digesting is going to come out. But on a spiritual level more, like, because we're feeding ourselves with information, we're feeding ourselves with lies sometimes, and we're feeding ourselves with these pre-digested ideas. And we need to choose what we're feeding ourselves with. So, and most spiritual teachings, they would say, look, it's so important who you surround yourself with. Show me your 5 best friends and I'll tell you who you are. Because that's what you're really feeding yourself with. I mean, and if you're feeding yourself with proper information and people and influences, you'll obviously start eating better, living better, helping people in a certain type of way, being more active, be more aware of body, mind, and soul should really be in a type of communion for you to perform at your best. And sometimes if you have physical ailments or dietary restrictions or things that are holding you back, still you can always try and make the best of it. Make the best of. And sometimes, always information is at the basis of that,
Yeah. How do you decide what to eat, though? What's your criteria?
That's why I say I'm not the best example, because I'd like to be eating better. I have too much affection for sugars, so I end up going to things that have sugar in them because I kind of got used to that. But I cut out a lot of things. I especially cut out my food intake, quantities, and the fatty foods and the meats. I cut out most of the meats. I'll be honest, I still cave in. Sometimes I was really raised on meat, but I was full vegetarian for 5 years. And now I eat as little of it as possible, because all those things count, man. I mean, me eating meat is just being a selfish pig,
In what way?
In the way it's not sustainable for the planet. I mean, the deforestation, the water consumption, the grains, all the resources it takes for 1 kilogram of meat, that I'm saying, okay, I'm willing to take those resources away from people who are hungry, actually, in a deeper sense, more than I just bought it for this amount of money in the supermarket. I'm buying into a system that's making other people hungry on the other side of the planet, and that's making our forests disappear at an alarming rate, and all these things, and causing half of our animal population to start die out. But these are little choices that we sometimes don't consciously make, but while we're all doing it, we're all part of that issue. So already cutting out meat is a big thing, but if we could really start diverting it to grains and beans and living in a sustainable way, like, in India, some people will complain that it's not healthy to cut out meat. And if you really feel you need a little bit of it, eat a little bit of it. But every day, like we do for my defense, is you wouldn't keep a chicken that way. You wouldn't keep a cow in that type of way or slaughter in that type of way if you had to do it yourself. You're in the wild and have to hunt and stuff. It's still natural, but factory animals, man, how sad is that, man? They have a soul too, or if we don't even go on a spiritual level, they must be able to feel pain at the least, If you just take that, they're inflicting so much pain. And if you go on a little bit deeper level, if that pain is in the cells and goes into the cells of the meat, even in the tiniest, you're just digesting pain. And we're not helping to alleviate the massive pain and strain in the world. I mean, kids are getting bombed. Economies are going bust. People are going hungry in Venezuela. And we're podcasting, which is nice, but we're not hungry right now. And we could still go and have a burger. And it's up to us to make these changes. And this blockchain is offering us this chance to connect. And it's offering this chance to teach these kids in Africa, teach these kids in India to write blogs about their situation, share their experience, and get a part of the wealth, a little bit of fair distribution of what we're all kind of abusing on in certain areas of the world, you know? So,
yeah. I'm just very curious then, because you mentioned Venezuela.
yeah.
Firstly, what's your take on that? There was a petrodollar they released, the coin, like a few months ago.
Yeah.
And what about Curacao as well? What's happening there in Curacao, the island just off the coast?
Well, that's the crazy part. We're so close, but
And
we
yet,
were a Dutch colony. We were,
yeah,
I mean, you can see the coast of Venezuela from our island sometimes. And I have to say our help towards the Venezuelans from the island is not at all where it should be. It's kind of like sometimes we get immigrants on boats, sometimes boats are capsizing and we're sending them back in a way that I'm like, but Venezuelans are feeling at alarming rates, millions to Colombia, hundreds and hundreds of thousands to Brazil. The transfer rate now would make that they're earning about, I think, $5 for a month of work. So one upvote. I mean, there was a comment. We had I'll explain about Arts on Zoom, but one of our curators, Rox G, send the price to a Venezuelan, which is about an equivalent of $20, which is $20. But to him, it's literally was for the next 2 months. I'm going to have an easier time for me and my kids. And you're like, wow, we should be distributing this way, you know? I mean, that sometimes people just, we should be more aware that we should be part of the solution. You know, no one's going to do it for us.
No, it's got to be the change you want to see in the world.
I mean, if the money structure isn't going to say, hey, okay, you know, I've been enjoying 99% of it, or let's be 90% of the wealth all this time, why don't you take it back? They haven't done it. They won't do it. Politicians are in the same structure. All of these structures, when you give people too much power, they abuse it. So we have to use a structure where the power is from the people. If you're a dick and it's transparent, goodbye. I mean, you know, find the right people, transparent everything, you know, then you have to be a good guy. Then even the crooks have to be good people, let's say. I mean, and even if you need to be good to survive then instead of bad, because in this economy, it's almost like you gotta be cutthroat if you want to get ahead. And that's what we're taught on the educational level too. You got to be better, you got to be smarter, you got to be faster, you got to be, and I don't know if it's like that in all countries, but for us, it was, I think Western cultures often is a competitive education. You're educated to compete, be better than other people, but you should be your best. And we should all be the best together. So I think it's a real education level thing, realizing that we're in this together type of thing. And that's a kind of spiritual awakening to realize you, Adrian, you know, we're actually one. And that starts to get a bit artist, but it's true. Even on a cell level, on the animal tree level, we're not that far in DNA. Your kids are actually also just, if you would have kids, I don't know if you have kids, would actually be me also surviving, you know?
Yeah, so very superficial, human race, very superficial.
Why we're not looking at it as a human race, indeed. We need aliens or something, or a common enemy, and we have a common enemy, and we do have a common enemy. Maybe we just have to realize, and if we get our eyes off of the entertainment and the confusion.
Yeah, what is that common enemy? Because you mentioned the money system, you alluded to the blockchain. So the status quo and the de-intelligence. What's wrong with the status quo, please, Giovani? What's wrong?
What's wrong? Could you elaborate this a little better for me?
Well,
or it was good, but that I understand it better.
That's okay. So the food's poisoning.
Yeah.
Or food's poison.
Information too.
Information is rottening. The war is pointless. The money is fraud. What else?
What's the last one?
The money is fraud.
Uh-huh.
What else?
Well, what else? The else is that still, that from an individual level, everybody wants to be happy and everybody wants to be free. But we don't know what freedom is anymore. We don't know what happiness is anymore. Because if all day you're being told happiness is fake tits and fake lips and money and cars and this and that. So sorry that I went in that direction. But it's true. If you're taught that that's happiness, and happiness is something that you have to get over and over and over, and it's a temporary thing, you're after the wrong thing. That's not happiness, man. Or then happiness is just a moment between another sadness. And I think it's not short-lived. And then you're always going to want more because you're going to feel like, oh, damn, you got that new Bentley. You know, we're all even talking about Lambos on the platform before some people even have cars, probably. You know, maybe let me get a car so I can drive to work. But people are on Lambos already. So it's about, I guess, yeah, we got to learn to share and be honest. And I think blockchain is a really big step in that direction.
Yeah, I was going to ask, how so? How do you think? Because it's like the past year, loads of ICOs have come through the woodworks. Loads of companies have said, we're blockchain related. We do X, we do Y, we do Z. What do you think about?
Look, I think like everything, people are into the trend because the trend makes money. But the trend usually, like if you look at the internet trend, some of the big ones really made a difference and changed the way we even experience the world. And they stayed on a lot, like the internet bubble. A lot of these websites just disappeared. And I think a lot of these greedies are going to get what's coming to them. Someone's going to make money, someone's going to lose money, but it's just that. It's what it is. But some of the systems I hope will be so game changing that it will change your perspective once again. It will open portals to more consciousness, more communication, freer movement of information and monies, and less control, tax control. Because if it takes me, like as an artist, sometimes that's small monies that have to be sent. And I can't receive PayPal here. So it'll cost me sometimes $50 to receive, like, I don't know, 80, you know? And that's abuse. That's like abuse. So you're going to take $50 off my $80. Like, why, man? All you did is transact, you know? Now it's 3 seconds later, pow, and you do what you want. I mean, the courses are a little crazy, so people are scared, but it's free. It's much more free. And I'm all for freedom, you know? And people will abuse it, but then again, if good people will always have to stand up.
And how do you stand up to it?
I create a lot of art. I try and take it in, try and see all the information. I try and be as objective as I can with all the frequencies and information coming in. And I let that turn into art. So that's often with Islamic patterns mixed with island features, mixed with gecko colors, and mixed with this art piece and a collage, and all these different influences, also artistic influences, come together, which is what I think is what we're trying to do now, because we've been separated by borders and colors and nations and all this stuff, but we're coming together more and more and more. So we're getting ready for this new coming back to the human race rather than a white race, an Asian race, an African, you know what I mean?
And
I think that's happening, like this melting pot effect. And my art is very much a combine. I traditionally studied painting, collages, drawing, pastels, all these traditional things. I went to the art academy. I stopped there when I realized I was better off not being at the art academy. I worked with my dad, my father was a prolific artist for a few years as a kind of master apprentice type of way. We worked on paintings together for a few years. And then somebody, I'd already dabbled in digital, but a friend of mine just gave me Photoshop, and I didn't turn back. And I was like, wow, I can put all of these works, these handmade works, everything, photography, all these things, I can put them together. I can make them have an alchemy. And that's exactly what the world has to have. We have to come together. Each person takes their own talents and creativities and strength. They add them to the table, and we don't compete. We collaborate.
Create.
We let it happen. We're part of. We let the change happen, and we don't try and stop it.
I'm in 2019. I'm thinking of writing some fiction works for books, And I've
Let's
got a
see
few
it.
ideas. Got a few ideas at the moment, and I've come across also this. Interestingly, this AI generated this software that uses AI to generate music. So you could create music largely hands off, or
Yeah,
80% leveraging AI to
it's a
create the
little
beat.
scary.
Yeah, well, a little
It's a little
scary,
scary.
but also at the same time, I see opportunity there to create a 80% generated AI and 20% human album or loads of singles. And it's like, that could be cool. That could be a cool little hallmark to do and to create and to share into the world.
Yeah, it's been a crazy experience to see these automated artificial intelligence art creating. I don't know how you would explain it, are making pretty good pieces, better
Yeah.
pieces than a lot of people already. Like
I,
just by analyzing work and I don't know exactly. I'm not a developer or very deep, but it's impressive. The computers will be able to
mhm.
reproduce, or maybe not even reproduce, be creative.
Oh
And
yeah,
then
yeah,
we got
yeah.
to step our fucking game up, man. Like all the way,
Well,
forever. Because if a
yeah.
machine can do what you do better and people are adding filters and stuff, we can't let the actual real art creativity die. So, I mean, people have to keep up. People have to keep up.
I guess actually then the next stage then would be interpersonal skills and interpersonal relationships, where something that either the AI at the moment simply can't do,
Oh, God.
or or something it simply will not do in the future.
Yeah, if they had empathy,
Yeah, exactly, things like that.
yeah, it's
But
possible. Why
as a
not?
as a side note, though, when I mentioned AI, you hesitated, you jumped back a little bit. What I never
No, I
understood,
respect it though, but it's it's confronting. It's
uh
confronting. Yeah.
what I never understood about AI is why don't they just implement Asimov's rules of robotics? You know, a robot can't harm a human, a robot can't put a human in jeopardy, and a few of the rules, and a robot can't break any of the previous rules if it means harming somebody else, or things like that.
Yeah, I
That's
think it's
hardwired into the software, into the programming. That's something like
yeah, and
that.
even if you keep it to more simple robotics, we could simplify so much in the
Uh-huh.
world and automate so much. I think it's still I don't know how much control people have over it consciously, but they don't want people to have all that free time, I think. Because if you free up all those jobs, that menial jobs that people are doing, and you give
Right.
them freedom and they might have too much time to think and talk, also change will happen.
Yeah, I see
You gotta
that there.
keep
A
them
little
busy. You gotta keep them busy with entertainment,
bread and
bullshit.
circus. Bread and
I mean,
circus.
I don't want to be insulting to our American viewers, but you have to beware of your television. Your television is some of the most intoxicating, indoctrinating television from around the world.
Well, you
Like,
better.
look at
Yeah.
different televisions. They're feeding you shit 24/7, and sometimes you don't turn it off.
It's
And they,
mainstream for a reason.
oh my God, and it's pouring over to the whole world. We're all getting that information and news. I know stuff about a president that I don't. What's going on? What's going on? I can't take it serious anymore. I almost feel like they're making a joke of us
Uh-huh.
sometimes. Like they're laughing, like, look at them eat our shit. Eat it. Eat it and love it. Talk
Bread and,
about it and tweet it.
yeah, bread and circus. Bread and circus. Distractions and yeah, distractions, really. Distractions and then entertainment. Entertainment, that's it. Um,
So you got to look for it. You got to personally, and I think that's the big secret. If you personally want to change,
mhm.
really sincerely, you will start to be the change because you'll be looking for it. You'll be looking for ways to better yourself. You won't feel right doing. I think a lot of people, they do stuff that they don't feel right about. Like
Yeah.
smoke cigarettes, even just something like cigarettes to keep it simple. I was smoking at some point, just kind of got addicted that I wasn't even enjoying them anymore, but addicted to them, so I kept smoking. The one day I kept to the taste one. I don't even like this taste of cigarettes, pure cigarettes. Um, and I cut it. I cut it. I was like, remember that you don't like it. Don't be hooked like to the addiction of it. And we do that with
Mm.
a lot of thoughts. Like some people might say the most random racist shit that you're like, how can you still even believe or think that? But maybe they don't really believe it. Sometimes they do, but I think often, I don't know, man. A lot of our negativity is I don't think it's built. I don't think it's built in. I don't think it's natural. I don't think you're born that way. I thinks, me thinks. I could be wrong. Maybe we're inherently negative and jealous and envious and not wanting people to succeed. But I think we do want that. We want everyone to succeed. But we're taught to be better than them. And if they succeed more than you, you're less than them. So you don't want them to succeed in that education. But I think if we as community succeed, it's a win for all. So if we could also find a way to distribute that fairly, the gains and wins of communities and societies or whatever cluster you're self-sustaining yourself with, it would change everything. Equal distribution.
And going back a little bit, you mentioned people get distracted, that they need to do something they love. I find that you can do anything makes money, and you can do whatever you want in life as well. Generally, there's two rules. One is to be happy with what you're doing as an emotional requirement. If you're not happy, you'll burn out. You won't enjoy yourself. Another thing is to be competent at it. If you're not competent, then you won't see the technical. You won't thrive as easily. You struggle, and you won't see the fruits of your labor.
You need to go through a phase of not being competent to become competent, though. So I mean, like in the beginning, you might feel, "Whoa, I'm a great artist," or "I'm doing great stuff." But if you look back, you're like, "Whoa, that's so much to go."
Yeah.
And you have to have a drive of competence and knowing that you're going for something. But you don't always have to be 100% competent. You're going to mess up. You're going to make mistakes. And actually, in all those failures, as an artist, my favorite techniques I discovered were by making mistakes. I want to do something, and I ended up with something else, and it's like, oh, the art took over. It was better than anything I could have ever imagined. And that mistake becomes part of the protocol, almost programming, to allow the freedom of these things to happen. So yeah, be driven. Yeah, love is the real factor, because love will make you put in the hours. And I read somewhere it takes about 10,000 hours of anything to become good at it. And it's true, man. Play 10,000 hours of music, you'll start to go into a new zone with it. Read about certain subjects or practice certain things or arts or sports for a certain amount of hours, and you start to click with it. You know, the space is there for you to then start becoming excellent at it after you put a certain amount of hours. So everyone needs to know that too. You don't become an artist or a success or a crypto genius overnight. Some people are lucky. They have a lucky strike, but usually there's an unlucky strike after. But the real art comes from dedicating yourself and keep on doing it, you know? Just keep on doing it.
Yeah, I crunched the numbers once, and depending on how many hours a day you work, 10,000 hours is roughly 14 months. So
wow.
Call it 2 years.
Well, if you're really driven, yeah.
Yeah, if you're really driven, less than a year, and that's totally doable. But yeah.
No, that's doable. Then you enter a new level, for sure. You enter a new domain after those 10,000 hours.
Oh, definitely, yeah, and that's why also with the books, I was thinking of just writing 100. Just start small, like one page, 10-minute reads, 1 minute reads, whatever, really short stories, and do 10 of those, and get bigger and bigger, and do little novellas and beyond, and do bigger things. And then same with the music as well. But hey, why not start on a 30
I would
seconds?
say for sure. Keep writing.
Very creative.
Keep writing. Cool. They keep getting better, and each time you develop, and each time you grow, and then before you know it, you're writing stuff that you're like surprised yourself. Like I didn't even think I would reach such a level. And when you get such a feeling that the art and creativity is even stronger than your will or thoughts, so it's a beyond you type of thing, because all of that practice made your writing into something more than you could have imagined it. You know, you start to have little secrets, and between the words you're going to see like, whoa, I didn't even have that double meaning in my head, but it came through in a way that now it's just art.
You just get better over time. But I also think it's
keep writing, man. That's the way to do it.
I think it's best to take a break and step away from it for a while, then come back to it again at a later date with a much fresher mind and more relaxed, because the emotions are important. Yeah. If you get frustrated, then that mindset is not helpful. So then take a step back and come back to it. And then at the same time, learn new strategies.
Yeah, that's true.
Expand the comfort zone. Yeah.
Yeah, that's why I would advise also to work sometimes on multiple works. Like you don't have to be always working on just one because you get kind of locked in this perspective you've been having. So if you have a few stories and you go back to one, these useful elements of one will go over into the other, and they'll start adding to each other. And for me, it was surrounding myself by my art too. For you, it would be probably read some of your old stories back sometimes because that's your art. So surround yourself with it too, and then you'll start even upgrading, upscaling your old work. And before you know it, you'll see a line between all those little stories and they'll come together and then you just have like a book. You know what I mean? They'll all come together. And that drive is, I guess that's where in a religious way you would say faith. In a scientific way you would say trust. But it's the same. You do have to have a certain amount of faith in everything you do. There has to be a certain amount of trust that there's things that are not in your control, and all you can do is keep on working your best, doing your best, presenting your best, becoming a better you and a better today. But there's some things that are up to the universe, up to chance, up to where you're born and things. So you just got to play your hand. And I do believe everyone in that sense has a role. You do have like almost a mission. So once you know your mission, I'd say go for it. Refine yourself to be very good at what you do. So when that chance comes to make a difference, you're ready. You're ready to take it.
Yeah, and speaking of today and making a difference, as we slowly wind down the podcast, Giovani, what are you working on today? What are you up to?
I've been talking so long, I forgot to mention what is very important for the SteemIt community. If you're an artist watching this and you're on the SteemIt community, Surf Yogi has given us a super great opportunity. He has delegated us with 25,000 SP. He put together a group of his favorite artists. He kind of put us in a group. He's a cool guy. It was a bit of a social experiment too. He put us in a group together, said, this is the delegation. I want you guys to curate art. I want you guys to figure out how you distribute this to deserving artists and art content. And he wanted to make a hashtag specifically for people using the ArtZone hashtag. So what does that mean? Everyone who uses that hashtag, if it's creative content and it goes onto a list eligible for upvotes, will get a daily upvote on their creative content. And that value of that vote keeps on going up. And it's a daily, so it's a nice incentive. We're going through all of those posts daily to pick the best content, curate it, put it on our post to give it a place to shine, and pay them extra prizes in SBD or bigger upvotes, even bigger upvotes. And like this, we're hoping to bring together artists and art lovers. We also want to really be a place where the younger artists can get inspired, they can get tips, they can get education. People who love art, they shouldn't forget about also the arts of old. So people who are educational about art is also very interesting to us. Musicians are interesting to us, poets are interesting to us, writers too. Pure photography, we're debating because there's a lot of specific photography ones out there. So maybe we should give support where there's a little less, because there's a lot more support for the photographers. But probably the exceptional ones we won't be able to ignore. They'll be getting our upvotes and promotions too. But little by little, we hope to really create a supportive system for all artists who are dedicated to growing, because we're mostly artists within that group. So we all know that it's hard to start up as an artist. So if we can recognize, as having been there ourselves, the deserving content, give them that support, give them that bit of feedback to help them make the steps rapidly. That's what we're all about. We want to create an ecosystem for artists, art lovers, creatives to thrive in. And for now, it's a lot of hard work, and I'm really dedicating a lot of time, and so are our other curators, and Surf Yogi did us a real solid. So we're turning it into, it's a vision that is growing into a real support system. And I think in the next few months, it's really going to take off, because we're bringing in better and better content creators. We're bringing in better and better curators, ones that can really recognize the difference and see, recognize in the artist where their talents and strengths are, and maybe even in a light way where they could maybe add even more value. And I think by within a year from being a support system, it'll become a hub. Once we really have art lovers, artists together, we can facilitate sales, we can facilitate promoting artists we deserve, we can facilitate promoting shows, we can facilitate basically to be a place where art, an art incubator, an art support, a source of inspiration, a source of confidence when you get presented by well curated content and you're part of that. So I'm really happy about that. That's like a big gift from Surf Yogi, who also did the same for another community, the West Africa community, WAFrica, WA Africa. So on a double level, he has really, put his money, let's say, to good use, and his vision to good use, allowing people who are from that domain to decide who should be rewarded within that domain. And it's actually pretty much mostly kind of volunteer. So you also get people who really care about this format. And yeah, I hope along the way it grows and that it'll be a win-win-win for the platform and everybody involved. But for now, it's a beautiful way to kind of give back to people, to a segment of society who has a hard time coming up. It's hard to come up as artists, really not easy.
Yeah, I heard about this one, the West Africa. In fact, the previous guest was talking about this as well.
Nice.
What is the what's the link for this at all? We'll have it in the show notes below.
Art Zone, and you guys can give your advice on this, because it was Art Zone, and we wrote it like with capital ART. But I was looking at it, and then I saw Art One, so we could have the art in capital little z and the one, Art One, Arts One. And I could hold a vote. Which one you guys think is cooler? Capital letters ART Zone or Art Cap? We'll write it down there. So capital letters ART, little Z, capital letters O and E. But then it's more like Art One. We want to be one in the arts and unite the art. I think the arts zone one, that connection between the words might be fun. It's dyslexic, so I see things in a certain type of way, so it might be confusing. The description was already confusing. So
well, I think the art zone itself, without the one, it's a little better, a bit more original. But Giovani, as we slowly wrap up, what is the best way for the audience to get in touch with you?
I want to kind of promote this platform, so I would say the best way to get in touch is specifically find me on Steam. Find me on SteemIt.
Okay.
Make yourself an account if you don't have one. If you're seeing this from outside sources, I'm going to show you some of my art before you leave.
Ah, that's awesome. That's cool. That's very nice. Turtle and flowers and triangles. I like that. That's pretty cool.
Turtle. And here we have some more sacred geometry.
Oh, I can see the Islamic influence you talked about earlier.
Exactly. Here's wait, it's a little reflection because it's on glass.
All right. Natural, very natural. Sunflower, that reminds me of sunflowers, actually.
Here, this one, you see the tiger in it?
Yeah, I see the tiger, yeah.
Nice.
The size of the actual shapes reminds me of sunflower, but yeah.
Yeah, you should look close, it's crazy. Let's see if you can get a little detail on that screen.
On the whiskers and all the rest, yeah. Yeah, cool.
Oh, yeah. This is actually the biggest monument of our island. It's called the Handelskade. Flowers. So I made that in tribute to our island. You see how Dutch these little buildings were? The Dutch influence?
Oh, yeah. So the yellow, thin, tall one, yeah? Oh, yeah,
But we put color on it. There's a funny myth about our island. I think it's true. There was a governor who would get headaches because all these buildings were white and there's so much sunlight. It would reflect. Give him headaches, so he made a rule that all these houses have to be colored anything but white. Right. And now our trademark is that we have all these colored buildings in town.
Interesting. I like this. That's cool. Interesting, a little bit of history there. Cool, but
little hummingbird.
Oh yeah, that's it. I will include the show notes below and the link to your art zone and SteemIt there. Cool, but Giovani, do you get much snow over there? That looks like snow, isn't it?
No snow.
Okay. Oh, right. Interesting.
No, the coldest we've had is like 22 degrees Celsius.
22 degrees. That's cold. That's
That
cold.
cold. That's bad cold.
Really, that's cold. That's called a good day. That's called a really good day.
What is this? I
It's a
don't know if you can read
whiteboard.
it.
Oh, it's the
Oh
link.
no, it's all reverse.
Oh yeah, no, it's fine. To me, it's normal. That's pretty cool. That's cool. Awesome.
Don't forget, follow Adrian Nantchev. Am I pronouncing that right?
Yeah. Hold on. Let's rotate a little bit so we get the whole thing in. Let's get a screenshot. That's it. Oh, cool. Here we are. Awesome. Cool. There we got a screenshot
Follow
there.
Adrian. Don't forget Adrian.
Yeah.
Follow Art Zanolino. That's my personal page. Follow Art Zone, especially if you're an artist. Art Zone and hashtag us to get upvotes. And Surf Yogi. This guy's a saint on the platform. He's our angel. So give him his support back. And he put us in connection. Surf Yogi is the reason we're doing the podcast. And yeah, don't forget to follow Adrian.
Cool. All right. Thank you very much. Cool. Awesome. But Giovani, great talking to you. And
that was great.
Yeah. So, ladies and gentlemen, thank you very much for tuning in.
Thanks.
Go out there today into this world and do something remarkable with your life. Turn the TV off. Turn it off and do something instead. Turn that off, and turn this on instead.
Get creative.
Yeah, exactly.
Get creative.
Awesome.
You got it in you. Listen to how would Bob Dylan say it? It's blowing in the wind, man. The truth is blowing in the wind.
Truth is blowing in the wind. I like that.
And this one as the last one, like the chameleon. You can see the chameleon.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
Like, don't be afraid to blend in, to stand out. You know, sometimes you got to do what you got to do, but stand out either way. You know, you can take some of what you have to take to blend in, but just fucking stand out.
Awesome. That's cool. Awesome. But Giovani, great talking to you.
Hey, thanks a lot, Adrian. I appreciate it.
Cool. Yeah.